Right guys, so you've just seen the demo of this cool shortcut and the system generally I've set up to share with you all. And on the Notion template side, I've stayed with the previous time tracker template from the previous tutorial, and it includes focus areas. Now instead of just projects, instead of active projects, we've got focus areas. It's got renamed. This is related to my news principle of time tracking, and we'll get to that in a minute. We got the time entries in the timeline view and actions. This is just a Notion UI specific way to interact with the template quickly. And for the databases, the core structure of the template, we've got 3 separate databases, focus areas. So in here, we've got projects, we've got types, projects, and we've got activity types. So also we've got time entries. This stays generally the same, but I've also added a small progress check formula just to make it simpler to check in the shortcut itself whether or not we've got an ongoing time entry. So we've got a small formula, just a very simple one. So if date end, time spent, so we've got a time spent property date property that has a start and end, and they indicate the start of the time entry and end of time entry. This time around, the shortcut will have preset start and end for the time entry right away, so you are forced sort of to determine realistically for how long will you be working on this time entry. And we've got a focus area relation as well, and here we got date end. If this time spent, if the end of the date property is bigger or older than now, then it's still in progress, and otherwise it is done. And I was very happy to see that formula just switches its logic dynamically. So we've got done and in progress, and it worked flawlessly, and I was really happy about it, and I'm really happy to share with you all. So it's done and in progress, and it's changing constantly, and makes it for us easier to check if the current entry is in progress or not. And also how people, it's depending on your workflow. If you are a freelancer, if you are extensively working on the CRM and based with people, and you relate your project to other people's projects, this will be handy for you to develop further. But I'll stick just to the general flow of the time tracker shortcut. This is the focus mode and focus area oriented time tracking flow. So as you see here on the slide I made, we've got focus modes, the Apple system, and focus areas Notion template system. So this time around, I wanted to include deeper into the flow the focus mode that Apple has made and integrated into their OS. So this is like different focus modes that you have specific for different areas of your life. And what I decided to do is we need to separate one focus mode from others and assign it to projects that are in our lives, right? And the projects are finite outcome driven bodies of work. So this is just the definition of projects, the correct definition of projects that just wanted to remind you of quickly here, and just to make it clear about what do I mean by them. And also we have other focus modes that are specific to different areas of life and are not project specific. So we have areas related for activities. So we have repeatable practices that do not have a defined endpoint, culminate in a deliverable, and remain a part of our life in routines for a different period of time. So the shortcut logic will be based on these principles in its flow. Let's now move on with the shortcut logic implementation. right? So we will start with the checking for the time entries in progress. So as I showed you earlier, I've added the progress check formula property, and we're gonna take advantage of that in the shortcuts logic. So first things first, as always, what I do is I get value for my Notion API key stored in data jar application. So what I do is I get get value for Notion API like that, and I immediately set variable key to that, just so I can access it quicker later on. So now we get the necessary credentials. The first one being the area's database ID, and also the time entries database ID. I'll just predefine them. And what we need to do here is we need to put the IDs for the respective databases. I'm gonna go to my Notion template and copy the links. So first one being the focus areas, and I'll just copy the link, go back to the shortcut, and I'll place the link. Now I'm gonna use my reusable shortcut to get database or page ID, just like that, very quick. The link will be given in the description down below. So time entries. So in order to get the database ID for the time entries, I'm going to go to my time entries database in Notion. All right, I'm gonna copy its link. I can just go to the time entries database and just on the home page for the database. Make sure it's not a page and it is like the database full page. Just comment L, and now we have the URL that we actually need to separate the ID from. So now we have the time entries database ID, and we've got basically all the credentials we'll need for this shortcuts flow. So now it's time to really go through and check for the time entry that's currently in progress. So we do not have any time entries currently in progress. We're just starting off. So by default, if this shortcut is going to be made correctly, we should have 0 time entries currently running. So what we do now is we need to get contents of URL action, and we need to clear this for now and just type in the URL https /api notion.com/v1 and /databases, and now for the time entries database ID. And now finally we add a query, the final point for this. So the method will be post and headers. What are the necessary headers? We're gonna need 2 of these. So one being the authorization, and here I'm gonna put the bearer key, and we are putting our database, our integration key. So make sure you have your integration added as a connection in your Notion template. So go to the Notion template and just add it as a connection, not just to a single database or time entries and focus areas. Just go to the home page of your template. By the way, the link will be given in the description down below. So we get the bearer key, and now for the next key, it'll be of course the Notion version, right? And I'm gonna go 2022-06-28. Yeah, I know there's a newer version of Notion API, but for our purposes, the previous is good enough. And what we do now is we need to actually get we need to set up a filter for this query, and the filter will be actually set up in a different way. So we are going, instead of adding a filter, we'll add a sort and limit the page size. So just wanted to play with this and come up with some original way of setting up a filter. So we add a sorts. At this time, this will be an array, right? And in a sorts array, we need to put a dictionary, of course. So in any array, there comes a dictionary in Notion API language. So, and now we have the properties. Now we need to put a properties key for, and the property will be time spent. So remember, this is the property that has the start and end date for the time entry. So the term is the start of the time entry and end of the time entry. And also we need to put the direction key. So direction should be descending. Okay, right, so now we can close this finally and add a page. We'll add a page size number property. Page size is going to be outside of the sorts array. Make sure you do that. And going to be added as a number. And number will be 1. We need 1 time entry currently in progress. And what we do now is we need to get value. We need to set up the further flow a different way because we have a different implementation of the filter. So we need to get value for results first things first. And we know that this is gonna have only one entry. So we just straight off, we do not put any repeat with each item actions here because we only have one entry. And if Notion API won't let us down, we actually have everything correctly. So properties, now progress check, and I'm going to add a formula, that formula dot string, like that. And what it should give us is, remember, we have either in progress or done setup for this formula property. And we're going to put the if result, take advantage of that and put an if result. So if this, you see we have has any value and doesn't have any value. So remember how to fix that. We go to type, just double select the type property, text property, and get text, right? And now we have is anything, etc. So if it is in progress, then we go to the search for the action show alert. So we show alert that, now look closely. So I'm putting 2 quotation marks here and putting here is still running. Okay. Now I'm putting the dot here, and in here, these quotation marks. Between these quotation marks, what we need to do is we need to insert a variable. We need to select one, and I'm going to select this output of the results, get value for results action. And now we need to set it up further. We need to select the type dictionary. And once we've done that, we need to get value for key. You go to this very handy how you said it, text field that will allow us to go deeper into this results dictionary. This will, and as you remember, it will contain only one dictionary for one time entry, containing all its metadata. So we go properties, we need to get the title of this time entry. So go properties, name, title, and I want a text.content. Okay, sorry, not this time. Like this. And now we need to show stop. I need to stop this shortcut. So now I'd like to test this logic, and for the otherwise, I'll put a show alert. And also for this one, what you do is you need to untoggle the show cancel button, because we do not want the shortcut to move on at this point, because we still have a time entry in progress and we are not multitasking when it comes to time tracking. So otherwise we have no running time entries. No running time entries, and yeah, just like that. And now I'd like to run this shortcut and see what it shows up. So on first run, it will ask me for the permission to use my credentials. I will always allow that, of course. And as you see here, now we have no running time entries, meaning the shortcut's logic is correct. And actually, we have everything going right about the shortcut logic. So let's move on to the next section. If action, and you can delete this action because they were just the part of the debugging and visualizing the shortcuts flow, making sure it's all correct, and actually signing us that we can move on with the logic. So next up, we're going to set up the new time entry duration prompt. What we need to do for that, we need to add a new text field and put here an array of numbers separated by spaces. So I'm going to add 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 60, and custom. Do you know what these numbers are? Of course, these are the time duration of the new time entry numbers. What do we need to do next? After that, we need to split this text by spaces. And this way, the split action is very powerful, because now at this point we have a generated list of numbers and also a string. So this text field allowed us to combine numbers and a string in a single list. And after that, we're going to choose from this list. Just like that. Oh, not this way around. I'm going to select this again to make sure this splits the text, and we choose from this split text here. Now for the prompt, we can put different, you can put whatever prompt you want for, you can just put here for how long, and in the brackets put here in the specific requirement in minutes. So if you share the shortcut with your friend, he or she knows immediately that this is all talking about minutes. Okay, so what do we do after that? We put the if. So remember, there's a custom string in this list, and we need to also acknowledge the fact that it may be selected sometimes. So if the selected item is custom, meaning we need none of these numbers suit our needs. For example, a person may want to track some project task for 120 minutes, like for 2 hours, and it should also be possible. Why not? So I'm going to add a ask for number prompt and put here this text, your duration. Okay, and here I'm gonna just uncheck decimal numbers and negative numbers because these do not make any sense, right? So you can put here a default number, for example 120, etc. So I'm gonna leave otherwise empty and go with the end if. So why do I leave this empty? Because if we leave the otherwise empty, it automatically gets assigned the output of the last action before the if action, meaning this otherwise will hold the output of the choose from list other than custom. So we will have any of these numbers in the otherwise output if we do not place anything in here. But if we were to put something else, if we put nothing here, then we wouldn't be able to use the if result action, if result magic variable. So just keep it empty and you are good to go. Now I'm gonna use a very powerful action called adjust state that is very handy in the time tracker shortcut flow. So what we need to do is we need to now fill in all the properties, fill in all the magic variables that we have accumulated so far. So what we need to do is we need to add minutes to current date. So what minutes is, guess what? It's if result minutes. We're putting the if result right there, and this is basically done for now. We have set up the number selection prompt, and we have adjusted our current date, our now date, to be some date in the future. So basically at this point we have now the start date for the time entry, and we have the end date for the time entry, for the time spent date property in Notion. Okay friends, so this is the next section, and it is I'll call it the most crucial. Here I am on my phone. It may show a very it may show outdated data, but we know that we can just run the shortcut once, and we see that we have a new entry that's still running, and we did it all from the hour wrist. So this is it for the Apple Watch part of this tutorial.